I get your reaction to what you've just heard from Jake Sullivan there. Firstly, would it be appropriate for the United States to target inside Iran right now? It's certainly something that Jake Sullivan did not rule out.
Well, in a military crisis, you never rule out any options in order not to basically notify your opponent of your intentions. So, of course, he's not going to rule it out, but it is extremely unlikely at this stage that the United States would attack targets inside Iran, because so far the United States has not been targeted directly by Iran either. And it is saying, the United States, Jake Sullivan is saying that these are defensive actions. So if they're defensive actions, they're defending against attacks by proxies of Iran. And it is striking back so far at proxies of Iran. So I expect that to stay. Now, if the United States hits, for example, an Iranian intelligence ship in the Red Sea or the Indian Ocean, the Iranians may respond directly, and that would bring us to a different kind of escalation, a much more dangerous one.
Can international investors trust the US strategy right now? They've said that these strikes are not over. They will retaliate for the killing of US troops in Jordan. How can the US retaliate while also avoiding a wider conflict in the region? How do you expect this to unfold?
Well, keep in mind that the attacks by these groups aligned with Iran started right after October 7th. Remember also that during the 1 week humanitarian pause in Gaza, that these groups stopped attacking. So they are clearly looking at the situation in Gaza. They will continue their fighting, it seems, until the war in Gaza ends, and maybe beyond. We really have no way of knowing that. And so the United States will continue to respond to whenever they feel their interests are affected by these attacks.
What's the risk of a wider regional conflict as it stands right now, in your view?
Well, the risk is there, but I think it's mostly due to mistakes if it spins out of control. And in fact, we saw one of those mistakes when the 3 U.S. soldiers were killed by one of these groups, because in fact, these groups, the game has been going since October 7th, as I said, and so both sides know exactly what to expect. These groups expected the United States to shoot down every drone coming their way. But when these 3 U.S. soldiers were killed, that's not what happened. The U.S. mistook one of its own drones, or the enemy drone for one of its own drones, and didn't shoot it down. The 3 soldiers were killed, and of course then it has to respond in a much more forceful manner, which it did. That can lead to an escalation. Now we need to find again a new balance of deterrence.
Indeed, and still plenty of questions about exactly what happened in Jordan and the circumstances under which those 3 American troops were killed. But just on another matter, we are seeing the US Secretary of State Antony Blinken back in the region for a 5th round of shuttle diplomacy here. He's going to be meeting with regional leaders to try and avoid a wider escalation, but at the same time, try and zero in and attempt to achieve some progress when it comes to a ceasefire and a hostage for prisoner swap arrangement between Israel and Hamas. Of course, attempts to achieve any kind of progress have been eluded in recent weeks and months. So what do you expect the Secretary to be able to achieve on the ground on this 5th visit to the Middle East as the conflict unfolds?
Well, I think Jake Sullivan had it right when he said that the ball is in Hamas's court at the moment. They were presented with a proposal, and Hamas has publicly said that they're studying it and they need some extra time. So they are intending to respond. I don't know what the response will be, obviously. If they reject the proposal, then we are back to square one, unfortunately. If they accept it, then we will soon see the start of a ceasefire. This would be fantastic, obviously. Or they may ask for amendments, in which case the negotiations continue. But then at least there's a hope that we will soon have a ceasefire. But I think we're coming very close to the point where there will be a ceasefire, in part because Israel has run out of options in Gaza, in part because Hamas realizes that the people of Gaza are suffering horrendous, a calamitous situation. This clearly cannot continue any longer. So, and the United States also is running out of patience, I think, with Israel when it comes to prosecuting the war in Gaza. So we hope that, in fact, the ceasefire will now come soon.